Hi, I'm Kurt Carone. This is an overview for performing regular maintenance on a motorcycle. My specific bike in this case is a 2012 Harley-Davidson Nightster. We're going to go over some of the tools and supplies needed to get the job done, and as well as why. Uh, well, you just spent a bunch of money on a motorcycle, and you want to make sure that it stays on the road and runs as best it can. And the best way to do this is to ensure that regular maintenance is done on your bike and done right by doing it yourself. When you take your bike into the dealership, a lot of times you got some slick salesman trying to get you to spend a lot of money to hand your bike over to two goofballs that really don't care one way or another, you know, about how your bike really is. So it goes that old saying: you want it done right, do it yourself. By buying the shop manual, it's best $60 you'll ever spend on a motorcycle. Uh, Everything that you need done is laid out in easy to read instructions, and you just read it and follow along. With the right tools, you can get everything done. Um, we've got a socket set, just a regular standard size socket set, Torx bits, which you can buy if you don't have any at any place you would buy tools, screwdrivers, a soft rubber mallet, some open-ended wrenches, pretty much all you need, just a regular mechanics tool set. Um, Fluids, the new Sin 3 oil that you see down here on the bottom is usable in the entire bike. So you use one fluid for the whole bike. That's awesome. And conventional versus synthetic, at this point, the science says synthetic all the way. So might as well just go with that. Um, when you're setting up your bike, you want to put it on a jack or make sure that it's sitting level. Strap it down so that it's not going to go anywhere, and then run the bike for a minute or so to get it up to temp and get all the stuff moving through the system so that when it drains, it all comes out. Um, you're going to drain your oil, uh, remove the oil filter, um, put a little ring of oil around the gasket there and make sure you get a good seal. When you put the new filter on and fill her back up to spec, check it with the dipstick and make sure you got enough in there. And then you move on to your primary. It's the same thing. You pull the cover and the plug and you drain out the oil that's in there. You replace it with the new oil, fill it to spec, and put her all back together. Um, Keep your bike lubed up and running clean. The old oil you're going to want to put into some sort of acceptable container. A milk jug is great and typically handy. You run that down to your parts store or something like that. They're typically set up to, take oil to a recycle center, which will refine it and help keep our environment clean. You also want to check your spark plugs and wires to make sure they're not damaged. You see the plug on the left here is burnt out and it's not going to be firing as well as the new one on the right. Spark plugs are pretty inexpensive and worth changing out regularly. Um, your brakes, very important to inspect these. You want to check the pads, make sure there's plenty of meat on them. Uh, they're easy to replace. You can check your shop manual for instructions on how to do that. Make sure your rotor's nice and smooth. Um, and then after you fill your fluids, you go ahead and bleed the brakes. I've heard people say that you don't need to and that air will work its way out of the system. I don't like to trust that. There's a lot of really cool bleeder kits like you see on the right here that make it a one-man job, very easy. Uh, Follow the shop manual. Controls and cables. You want to inspect all your controls and all the cables connecting your controls to your engine and brakes and stuff. Make sure they're lubed up and or full of brake fluid if needed. There's a number of lubricants that you can use, and it's a pretty simple job. You inspect your drive belt, make sure there's no wear and tear on it. The cool thing about belt drive is that it typically doesn't wear out that much, so you won't have to replace this often. But if you do, there's Clear instructions laid out in your shop manual. Buy the shop manual. Tires. You check your tires with the simple penny test. That's pretty easy. You take a penny and you put Abraham Lincoln in there, face down. If you can see the top of his head, then you need new tires. He should be buried in the tread there a little bit. Shocks rarely need replacing. It's something that you just pretty much want to inspect and use this funky little spanner wrench here. If you don't have one, you'll probably have to go to a dealership or a motorcycle shop to buy one. Those will help you adjust it for the proper preload. Then finally, you want to check your critical fasteners, which is, as you can see, a list of all these bolts and their locations. It's all in your shop manual. Buy the shop manual. Get a torque wrench and make sure that they're torqued down to spec. Don't want anything coming loose on you while you're riding. Clean up, very simple. You get a good hand cleaner. There's tons of them out there. Some shop towels. Get all that gunk off your hands and fingernails and whatnot. You can get absorbent granules for oil spills, or I've heard that if you're using that Syn 3 synthetic lube, it comes right up off the ground with rubbing alcohol. By performing this maintenance, you're not only saving money on doing it yourself, you're saving money on keeping your bike from having major repairs, and you got a good sense of pride in that this is your bike and you know it inside and out. So there you have it.